The twin suns were rising over the alien world Ravkara, sending long golden shadows across the queen's palace. Every morning, the halls were filled with the sound of marching soldiers, humming machines, and servants preparing for the day. But today, there was only silence, a strange, heavy silence. Then suddenly, a scream cut through the palace. A maid ran out of the royal chamber, her hands shaking. Her voice echoed down the long metal hallway. "They're gone. The princesses are gone." The entire palace froze. Every guard turned toward her. Every servant stopped breathing. The maid fell to her knees, trembling so hard she could barely speak. But everyone understood her words. The alien queen's daughters, the two young princesses, had vanished. Within seconds, alarms exploded. Across the palace, red warning lights flashed. Heavy metal doors locked. Robotic guards flew out like angry hornets, scanning every corner. No one had ever imagined this could happen. No one ever dared harm the royal bloodline. The Queen of Ravkara, Queen Thalara, was known across star systems as a fierce leader. Her strength was like fire. Her voice could silence armies. Even her own people feared her anger more than death itself. And now, her daughters were missing. When Queen Thalara entered the chamber, every soldier bowed low. Her sharp violet eyes scanned the empty room. The princesses' small beds were untouched. The window seal was closed. The floor was clean. But two tiny energy crystals, belonging to her daughters, lay on the ground. The queen picked them up. Carefully, her breath trembled. Her voice did not. "Search every part of my empire," she ordered. "Check every city, every cave, every ship. Whoever took my daughters, I will destroy them." Her voice echoed like thunder. The guards scattered in all directions. Sensors swept across the palace walls. Drones scanned the skies. Warriors ran through the streets, shouting commands. The whole planet shook with fear. But something strange was happening far away. Light years across space. On a small human outpost on the edge of a dusty moon, a human engineer named Evan Holt lay asleep on his narrow bed. His room was small, cold, and dimly lit by a flickering blue light. His tools were scattered on the floor, and a half-finished generator sat on his desk. Evan worked alone. He lived alone. He liked it that way. But today, his life was about to change. He slowly opened his eyes. Something felt different. There was a warm weight on his chest. Something soft and small, rising and falling gently with each breath. For a moment, he thought maybe he had fallen asleep on his jacket. But then he heard a tiny sound, a soft purr, followed by another. Evan blinked hard. What the? He slowly looked down. Two small alien girls, maybe 6 or 7 years old, were curled up on his chest like sleeping kittens. Their tails were wrapped around his arms. Their glowing scales shined faintly in the darkness. Their tiny fingers held his shirt tightly, as if he was the only safe thing in the universe. Evan froze. Okay. This is not normal," he whispered, afraid to move. The girl shifted slightly and snuggled closer, one pressing her head under his chin, the other curling near his shoulder. Evan's heart raced. He worked in deep space for years, but he had never seen alien children before, and definitely not sleeping on top of him. "How did you get here?" His voice was barely a breath. He gently touched the nearest girl's shoulder. Her soft skin shimmered like starlight. She made a small sound, like a sleepy sigh, and hugged him tighter. Evan stared at the ceiling. "This is bad," he whispered. "This is really, really bad." Back on Ravkara, Queen Thalara stormed into the war room. Holographic maps lit up around her. Soldiers brought in reports, but none of them made sense. No forced entry, no energy disturbance, no security breach. It was as if the princesses simply vanished. The queen slammed her hand on the table, and the room shook. "Find them," she roared. "If humans are responsible, I will turn their colonies to dust." Her generals nodded fearfully. Across the galaxy, Evan stood up slowly, careful not to wake the two small aliens clinging to him. He carried them to the bed and placed them down gently. Their tails still tried to hold onto him. He whispered, "Please don't wake up." But one of them opened her eyes, large, bright, and full of fear. She whispered something in her alien language. Her tiny hand reached for his. Evan swallowed. "Don't worry," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." The girl stared at him for a long moment, and then nodded. Evan felt his chest tighten. He didn't know who these girls were. He didn't know where they came from. He didn't know why they appeared in his room. But far away, an entire alien empire believed the same thing. A human took their princesses, and they were coming for him. Fast. The disappearance was only the beginning. Evan Holt stood completely still as the two alien girls stared at him with wide, frightened eyes. Their glowing scales shimmered softly in the dim room, giving off a faint lavender light. They looked delicate, like small wild creatures that could run away at the smallest sound. Evan raised his hands slowly. "It's okay," he said gently. "I'm not going to hurt you." One girl hid behind the other. The brave one stepped forward, her small tail curling nervously. She pointed at herself and said a single word in her language. "Rinya." The timid one whispered softly, "Leary." Evan nodded slowly. "Rinya, Leary. I'm Evan." They blinked at him, trying to understand his words. Evan took a deep breath. This situation was beyond strange. He had no idea how these children appeared in his room. There was no sign of a teleporter, no breach in the station's doors, not even a footprint. He looked around his small, messy engineer's cabin. Everything was exactly as it had been when he slept. Nothing broken, nothing hacked, nothing touched. Except these two little aliens who somehow ended up curled on his chest. Evan moved toward the small table, where he kept emergency rations. The moment he stepped away, the younger girl Leary panicked. She reached out and made a small whining sound. Evan stopped and smiled softly. "It's all right, I'm just getting food." He opened a packet of soft fruit cubes and placed them gently in front of the girls. Rinya stepped forward first and sniffed the food suspiciously. Then she picked one up and tasted it. Her eyes widened. She hurriedly grabbed another and another. Leary followed, eating quickly but quietly. Evan watched them and whispered, "So, you're hungry. That makes sense." But as he watched them eat, something else caught his attention. The patterns on their skin, the shape of their tails, the small crowns made of glowing crystal on their heads. He had seen something like them before, on holographic broadcasts, in news reports, on military warnings. Evan's heart sank. "They look like," he whispered, "princesses, royal children of an alien empire." His legs suddenly felt weak. Oh no, oh no, no. This is bad. If these were who he thought they were, the alien queen would destroy everything to get them back. She wouldn't listen to reason. She wouldn't ask questions. She would simply blame the humans and bring war. Evan rubbed his forehead. "Why me? I'm an engineer, not a kidnapper." But he couldn't leave them alone. They were scared, lost, and possibly hunted. He knelt down to their eye level. "Do you know where you are?" Rinya shook her head. "Do you know how you came here?" Both girls looked confused. Then Rinya made a small gesture, a swirl in the air, like a tiny circle. Leary nodded and made a soft popping sound. Evan frowned. A portal. A small, unstable teleport? Maybe the princesses had touched a malfunctioning crystal device. Maybe they were playing. Maybe they activated something by mistake. Whatever it was, it landed them here. Near a human. That made Evan the #1 suspect in the galaxy. A sudden alarm beeped on his console. Evan rushed to check. A news broadcast flashed across the screen. "Breaking. Princesses of Ravkara missing." Queen Thalara. Blames human interference. Search ships deployed. Evan froze. The Queen's face appeared next, cold, furious, powerful. We will not rest, she declared, until my daughters are returned. Any human involved will face destruction. Evan's mouth went dry. Rinya and Leary stepped behind him, holding onto his arm tightly as if they sensed the danger. He swallowed hard. Okay, I guess running away isn't an option now. Outside the window, Evan saw movement. A shadow passed over the moon's surface, then another. Alien ships. Fast ones. They were scanning this region. Evan felt his pulse race. He knew he had to do something. The girls needed help. But if he alerted the human military, they might take them away, use them, or cause a war. If he hid them, he risked being labeled a criminal. If he surrendered, the Queen might kill him on sight. He sat down, rubbing his temples. This day is going great, he muttered sarcastically. Rinya tugged on his sleeve. Her big glowing eyes stared up at him. She pointed to her chest and then to him, saying something soft in her language. It sounded like, "You safe?" Evan blinked. "You think I'm safe?" he whispered. The girl nodded. Liri moved forward too and hugged his arm. It was so sudden and so gentle that Evan didn't know what to say. They trusted him, without knowing him, without understanding him, without realizing the danger he was in because of them. They still chose him. Evan took a deep breath. All right. I'll protect you, no matter what. He stood up and turned on every protective system in his outpost. Shields, jamming signals. Thermal DAMPEN, ERS. Outside, alien ships hovered closer, their scanners glowing red through the dusty air. The Queen was coming, and Evan Holt, the one human who didn't run now, stood between her daughters and an empire ready to burn the skies. On the alien world Ravkara, the sky turned red as the Queen's war banners were raised. The wind carried the sound of heavy drums, and every warrior in the empire stepped out of their barracks. No one questioned the orders. No one asked for details. The daughters of Queen Thalara were missing. And that meant only one thing. War was coming. The Queen stood at the center of the war courtyard. Her armor glowed with molten silver, and her eyes were cold with rage. The ground trembled under her boots as she looked at the holographic map floating before her. Dozens of planets, star routes, and space stations lit up. Expand the search radius, she ordered. Her generals hesitated. Your Majesty, the energy trail is strange. It points toward the outer territories. Toward, the Queen cut him off sharply. Toward the humans. She finished, her jaw tightening. Humans were not strong. Humans were not advanced. Humans were not brave. But they were unpredictable. Prepare the hunt wing, she commanded. I want every hunter ship in the sky within the hour. The generals bowed low. Yes, Queen Thalara. The Queen turned away, her cape of shimmering scales trailing behind her. She entered her private chamber where the small beds of her daughters still sat empty. She touched the pillows gently, her hand shaking for the first time. My daughters? She whispered, her voice breaking for a moment. Where have you gone? But she was Queen Thalara. She did not cry. Instead, she rose with a fire in her heart. Whoever has you, I will find them. Meanwhile, on the human outpost, Evan Holt watched through the reinforced window as dark, sharp-shaped alien ships moved across the sky like silent predators. His heart pounded in his chest. This is bad. Really, really bad. Rinya and Leary sat close together on the bed, holding hands, their tails curled tightly around their legs. They could sense the danger too. Evan kept his voice calm, even though his insides felt like they were shaking apart. It's all right. They won't see us. The shields are on. The sensors are jammed. Rinya looked at him with big, worried eyes. Mother, she said softly, tapping her chest. Mother, angry. Evan winced. Oh, I believe that. I absolutely believe that. He had no idea how to contact the Queen. No idea how to explain he didn't kidnap them. No idea how to survive if she found him. The screen next to him beeped again. A human officer appeared on the emergency channel. Engineer Holt, respond. Immediately. Alien forces are entering our sector. Evan stayed silent. Evan Holt, this is command. Have you seen anything unusual? He looked at the two alien girls hiding behind him. Unusual? Oh, just two lost alien princesses who appeared in his bed and triggered a galaxy-wide hunt. Nope, Evan finally said. Nothing here, just fixing my power coil, the officer frowned. Report any strange activity at once. The alien queen issued a direct threat. Humans may be targeted. Evan swallowed. Understood. Command. He shut the screen off. Leary tugged on his hand. Her voice trembled. Human. Danger? Evan sighed. Yeah, a bit. He walked to the storage locker and pulled out a small handheld shield projector. From now on we stay inside. No noise, no signals. Rinya nodded seriously, as if she understood perfectly. Leary copied her a second later. Evan smiled weakly. Great. At least we're on the same page. Back on Revkara. The Queen stepped into her flagship, a massive silver vessel shaped like a blade. When the engines roared to life, the ground beneath her palace shook. General Vorak approached her. We found something, my Queen. A faint energy signature. Small, unstable, like a teleport tear. It leads outside Revkara's space. The Queen's eyes narrowed. To whose territory? Vorak swallowed. Humans. The Queen's rage filled the air like electricity. The walls hummed under the pressure of her power. Set course for the human moon outposts, she growled. If a human touched my daughters, I will show them the meaning of fear. Her ship shot into the sky, breaking through the clouds and entering hyperspace. On Evan's outpost. The scan begins, Evan checked. The sensors again, his breath caught in his throat. A giant ship of flagship class was dropping out of hyperspace that its size filled the sky. Its shadow fell over miles of moon surface. The alien queen had arrived. Oh no, Evan whispered. Not her. Not now. Rinya and Leary ran to him and hugged his legs tightly. Their glowing eyes looked up at him with fear and trust. Evan knelt. Down, don't worry, he whispered. I won't let anyone hurt you. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't even brave, but at this moment, he was the only barrier between the alien queen and her daughter's panic. The flagship released. Search drones, thousands of them, swarming across the moon. Hide, Evan whispered. Now. He pulled the girls behind heavy emergency crates, while the drones scanned every building, every rock, every shadow. A loud, terrifying voice echoed across the moon surface. Human who dares touch my daughters, step forward. It was the Queen's voice, amplified across the land. Evan froze. The princesses trembled. They clung to him harder. And for the first time in his life, Evan Holt realized something. The Queen wasn't just hunting anyone. She was hunting him. Outside the human outpost. The Queen's search drones moved like a black storm across the moon's dusty surface. Their red scanners cut through darkness, through buildings, through metal walls. Evan could hear the humming low, sharp, terrifying. Rinya and Leary held onto him tightly, their small fingers gripping his shirt with desperate fear. Evan whispered, "Shh. Stay quiet." The girls nodded, but their eyes kept drifting to the window where the massive alien flagship hovered above the moon. It looked like a giant silver beast with wings of fire, swallowing the sky. Evan's heart pounded. The Queen herself was here. If she found him with her daughters, she wouldn't ask questions. She wouldn't listen. She wouldn't forgive. She would destroy him instantly. Evan crouched down beside the girls. Listen, I need to know what happened. How did you come here? How did you appear in my room? Rinya looked at her sister, then at him. She took a slow breath and closed her eyes. A small light shimmered around her, fingertips tiny sparkles like drops of stardust. Evan stared. What is that? Leary touched her wrist and whispered something in their language. Rinya nodded and reached for a pack hanging around her waist. It was a small crystal pouch. She opened it. Inside lay a tiny device, a glowing, cracked crystal ring. It pulsed weakly, like a heartbeat fading. Evan frowned. What is that? Some kind of tech? Rinya placed the broken crystal on the ground. Suddenly, a faint hologram flickered into existence, a golden circle. A burst of light. A flash of two small figures being pulled through a tunnel of energy. Evan's eyes widened. You teleported yourselves? Rinya nodded. I added softly, accident. The hologram showed the girls in the royal palace, playing with the small crystal ring, laughing, spinning it between their fingers, then a spark, then a burst. A teleport gateway opened by mistake. Small, unstable, dangerous. The girls were sucked inside and thrown across space, across star systems, across borders, thrown straight into Evan's room. Evan ran his hand through his hair. So you didn't run away. You didn't get kidnapped. It was all an accident. The girls looked guilty, nodding slowly. And your mother thinks humans took you. Evan whispered, feeling sick. This misunderstanding wasn't just big. It was catastrophic. He stared at the cracked teleport crystal. Again, if I can fix this, he said quietly, I might be able to send you home. Rinya's eyes lit up with hope, but Leary suddenly grabbed his wrist tightly and shook her head. Evan gently asked, What's wrong? The younger girl pointed at the window toward the Queen's massive ship. She pressed her hands together, then separated them with force. Evan stared. You're saying your mother thinks someone separated you on purpose? Leary nodded, her eyes shining with tears. Then Rinya stepped closer and placed her hand on Evan's chest. Mother. Very strong, she whispered, but very angry. When angry, she hurt things. Evan looked at the two small princesses, scared. Not just of the galaxy, but of their own mother's rage. Suddenly, the room shook violently. Bang! A search drone smashed into the metal wall outside. Scanning aggressively, Evan grabbed the girls and pulled them deeper into the shadows. Quiet, he whispered. They held their breath as red light swept across the room. The drone hovered, paused, scanned again. Then it moved on. Evan exhaled. Okay, he whispered. We need to fix the crystal fast. He moved to his workbench, switching on only the smallest lamp to avoid detection. Rinya and Leary sat close, watching him carefully. Evan opened the cracked device, studying the crystal structure. This isn't human tech, he muttered. This is advanced, very advanced. Rinya tapped a small pattern on the table. 7 dots in a circle. Leary added 2 dots in the center. Evan looked confused. What does that mean? Rinya pointed at the Queen's ship outside. Leary pointed at the crystal. Then Rinya said a soft word, blood link. Evan froze. You're telling me the crystal is linked to your mother? The girls nodded together. Rinya touched her chest. And then the crystal. Leary did the same. Evan whispered, so only your mother or someone with her genetic signature can fully stabilize it. A chill ran down his spine. The Queen was the only one who could safely bring them home, which meant they needed her, but she wanted to kill him. Evan leaned back against the wall, exhausted. Great, just great. I have to talk to the one person who wants to blast me into atoms. The girls touched his arm gently. Human. Good, Leary said, her small voice shaking. Mother, no. That's the problem, Evan said softly. She doesn't know. And she won't listen. A deep, thunderous voice boomed across the outpost. Human. I sense you. Do not hide from me. Evan felt his whole body go cold. Rinya and Leary clung to him, terrified. The Queen was close. Very close. And now Evan understood something he hadn't. Before, this wasn't just a rescue mission. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was a family torn apart by fear, by power, by anger. And two small princesses trusted only one person right now, him. Evan squared his shoulders and whispered, "Okay. It's time. I have to face her." The girls shook their heads, but Evan gave them a small, brave smile. "I'll come back. I promise." But inside he wasn't sure at all. The moon's dusty ground shook as Queen Thalara's flagship descended lower, its engines roaring like a living storm. Sharp beams of red light swept across the outpost, searching for any hint of human movement. The Queen wasn't just hunting now, she was closing in, inside the tiny human engineering base. Evan Holt stood frozen at the doorway. His whole body felt heavy, like he was carrying the weight of two galaxies on his shoulders. Behind him, Rinya and Leary clung to each other, their small glowing eyes filled with fear. "Stay inside," Evan whispered. "No matter what, don't come out." Rinya shook her head quickly. "No, human. Danger." Evan forced a smile he didn't feel. "I'll be okay." He wasn't sure. He stepped out of the room and sealed the door behind him. The hallway vibrated as alien drones swooped past the building like angry hawks. Their metallic wings scraped against the metal roof, scanning everything. Evan walked slowly toward the outer airlock, his heart beating so loud he could hear it echoing inside his helmet. As he reached the outside, he saw it clearly. He was surrounded. A ring of alien soldiers encircled the entire outpost, their armor glowing with blue fire. Their long spears cracked with electric energy. The ground beneath their boots was scorched black. Above them hovered the Queen's flagship, a monstrous silver predator ready to strike. Evan swallowed. Okay, breathe." A sudden blast of wind hit him. A smaller ship descended in front of him, elegant but deadly. Its ramp lowered, and the Queen herself stepped out. Queen Thalara, tall, commanding, eyes burning with fury and pain. Voice rolled like thunder. "You, human." Evan took a deep breath. "Queen Thalara." "I didn't," she cut him off with a wave of her hand. "Silence." Her soldiers aimed their weapons at him. The Queen stepped closer, her shadow falling over him like a storm cloud. "You took my daughters." Evan raised his hands. "I didn't. They vanished the same night your people patrolled the border. And now their life signs appeared here, with you." Evan shook his head desperately. "They weren't taken. They arrived by accident. You have to believe me." The Queen's jaw tightened. "I believe nothing from a human's mouth." A drone flew down beside her, projecting a holographic map. It showed a faint energy trail leading from Ravkara to the moon, ending exactly at the outpost where Evan stood. The Queen stared at him with cold rage. "You hid them. You tried to steal royal blood. For this crime, your life is forfeit." Evan's blood turned to ice. She was going to kill him. She raised her hand. A sharp, glowing spear formed from energy aimed right at his heart. Evan closed his eyes. But then, a sudden sound broke the silence. A soft, high voice. "Mother?" The Queen froze. Everyone froze. Two small figures stood at the entrance of the outpost, trembling, but stepping forward anyway. Rinya and Leary. Evan's eyes widened in panic. "No, I told you to stay inside." But the girls ran toward him and grabbed his arms tightly. The Queen stared at them as if the universe had stopped moving. "My daughters," she whispered, her voice shaking for the first time. She stepped forward, reaching out a trembling hand, but Rinya quickly hid behind. Evan, Leary did the same. The Queen's expression snapped from relief to shock. "Why do you hide from me?" she whispered. Rinya pointed at Evan. "Human good," she said softly. Leary nodded. "He save us." The Queen blinked. Evan stepped forward carefully. "They came by accident. he said softly. This. He held up the cracked teleport crystal. Malfunctioned. They didn't run away. They weren't taken. They were scared and alone. The Queen looked at the crystal. Recognition flashed in her eyes. Blood link, she whispered. Evan nodded. I can't fix it without you. It needs your energy. Only your signature can stabilize it. The Queen's throat tightened. My daughters trusted a human. The soldiers murmured in shock. Then Leary did something no one expected. She took Evan's hand and held it tightly. Rinya did the same. Both girls pressed their heads gently against his arm. Human safe, they said together, voices soft but full of truth. The Queen took a step back, stunned. Evan spoke quietly, but with more courage than he ever knew he had. I didn't hide them. I protected them. I fed them. I kept them warm. I kept them safe from your drones. The Queen felt her chest rise and fall sharply. For the first time, she truly looked at the human in front of her, not as an enemy, but as the one person her daughters trusted. A long silence filled the moon. Finally, she lowered her weapon. Let them come to me, she said softly. The girls didn't move. They clung tighter to Evan. The Queen's eyes glistened, not with anger, but with something far more human. Hurt, double quotes, why do you hide from your mother? She whispered. Rinya looked at her and spoke slowly, searching for human words. Mother, angry. Mother, break things. Human, gentle. Those simple words hit the Queen like a spear through her heart. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply. When she opened them again, her voice was softer. Human Evan Holt. Step forward. The soldiers lowered their weapons. The Queen knelt down, something she had never done before anyone. My daughters choose you, she said quietly. So I will hear you. Evan felt his heart pound. This was the moment everything could change. Asterisk. For the first time in her life, Queen Felara knelt in front of a human. Her soldiers stared in disbelief. Her generals whispered nervously. Even the air felt heavy, like the moon itself was holding its breath. Evan Holt stood frozen, unsure if stepping forward was bravery or suicide. Rinya and Leary held his hands tightly, guiding him, as if telling him, it's okay. We are with you. The Queen looked up slowly. Her glowing violet eyes weren't full of hatred, now only fear for her daughters, and confusion at seeing them clinging to a stranger. Come closer, she said softly. But slowly. Any wrong move and my soldiers will react. Evan nodded and walked carefully until he stood just a few feet away from her. Rinya peeked out from behind his leg. Leary peeked out from the other side. The Queen reached her hands toward them, but the girls didn't run to her. They stayed pressed against Evan. A small tremor went through Queen Thalara's fingers. My daughters, she whispered. Why do you hold the human instead of me? Rinya stepped forward shyly and touched her mother's hand, but she didn't let go of Evan's shirt. The Queen's expression cracked. Her voice trembled. Do you fear me? The question hurt her more than any battlefield wound ever had. Leary nodded slowly. Mother, angry, she whispered. Mother, scary. The Queen closed her eyes. Her shoulders fell. Evan had never seen something so powerful look so human. He took a breath. They were terrified, he said gently. They arrived alone. They didn't know anyone. They didn't know where they were. But they trusted me because I didn't shout. I didn't hurt them. I didn't force them. The Queen looked at him sharply. You speak as if I hurt my daughters. Evan hesitated, then spoke bravely. You don't hurt them with your hands, he said quietly. You hurt them with your fear, your anger. They love you, but they're afraid of your rage. The soldiers around them stiffened, ready to attack. No one talked to the Queen like that. But the Queen did not lash out. She did not shout. She did not strike him down. Instead, her gaze dropped to the ground. For years, She whispered. I ruled with strength. I believed fear protected them. I believed no one would dare harm them if they feared me first. She lifted her head. But I never realized they feared me. Rinya stepped forward and touched her mother's face with tiny trembling fingers. Leary joined her. The queen placed her hands over theirs gently. My little stars. She whispered, her voice breaking. Evan felt something heavy lift from the air. The bond between them, mother and daughters, was not broken. It was only buried under fear and misunderstanding. But now it was coming back to life. The queen took a deep breath and stood up slowly. The soldiers lowered their weapons even further, sensing the shift. Human Evan Holt, she said, looking directly at him. You protected what is most precious to me. They protected me too, Evan admitted. We were scared together. The queen nodded. Then Evan brought forward the cracked teleport crystal. This caused the accident, he said. I can repair the structure, but only you can stabilize it. The queen took the crystal gently between her fingers. It glowed brighter as her touch activated the blood link, but instead of repairing it immediately, she looked at Evan again. You kept them safe from my drones. You fed them, you comforted them. She paused. And they trust you more than they trust anyone else. Evan nodded slowly. They were alone. I just didn't want them to feel afraid. The queen studied him. You risked death by hiding them, she said. You risked war by not handing them to your military. Why? Evan looked at the two small girls. Because they're children, not weapons, not political tools, just children. A long silence passed. Then something remarkable happened. The queen stepped back and bowed her head to him, a gesture of respect reserved only for leaders, only for equals. Human, she said, you have earned a debt from me. A queen's debt. Evan blinked. I don't want a debt. Then you have earned my trust, she corrected. The soldiers stared, stunned. The queen turned to her daughters. Do you wish to stay with this human? She asked softly. Rinya looked at the queen, then at Evan. Leary did the same. Then they both ran forward, not to hide behind Evan this time, but to hug their mother and Evan together. It was the first time the queen allowed anyone to stand this close to her children. And the girls held on to both of them, one tiny hand gripping their mother, the other gripping Evan, a bridge between worlds, a connection no soldier, no army, no war could break. The queen's voice softened. When the time comes, she said, I will take them home. But until the crystal is fully restored. She glanced at Evan. They will remain under your protection. Evan froze. Under my... What? Rinya and Leary squealed with happiness and wrapped their tails around his arm again. The queen smiled a slow, rare smile. Congratulations, human. You are now their temporary guardian. Evan nearly fainted. The soldiers looked horrified. The girls looked delighted. And the queen's final words sealed it. And anyone who dares harm them will answer to me. Asterisk, the moon's surface had never been so silent. Queen Falara stood tall beside Evan Holt, her daughters wrapped around both of them, Rinya on his left, Leary on his right, like two small bridges connecting two worlds that were never meant to meet. The alien soldiers watched in shock. The human outpost officers watched in fear. And above them, the queen's massive flagship hovered like a silver mountain waiting for its ruler's command, for the first time since the chase began. No one moved, no one shouted, no one aimed a weapon. The queen was the first to speak. Human, she said, her voice steady. You have shown more honor than leaders twice your age. Evan rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. Honestly, I was just trying not to die, Rinya giggled softly. Leary mimicked her. The queen's lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile, but close enough to stun every soldier within earshot. She lifted the cracked teleport crystal. Let us finish this. My daughters must return home. Her voice softened. But they will not leave without saying their truth. She placed the crystal in her palm and extended it toward Rinya. "Speak, child." Rinya placed her small glowing hand on the crystal. Lyri did the same. The crystal responded instantly, light bursting from it, swirling in a gentle spiral. Holograms shimmered above them, replaying the girl's memories. The teleport accident, getting sucked through the portal, landing in Evan's room. Their fear, Evan giving them food. Seven letting them sleep safely. The drones attacking. Shevan protecting them with his own body. The images faded. Silence stretched across the moon. Queen Thalara turned toward her soldiers. "You see? This human did not steal my daughters. He saved them." The soldiers bowed instantly. Evan felt his face heat up. "I'm, glad they're safe." The queen looked at him with strange curiosity. "You acted without fear." "That's not true," Evan said. "I was terrified the whole time." Rinya patted his arm proudly. "Human brave," she said. Lyri nodded firmly. "Human family." Evan froze. The queen froze. The soldiers nearly had heart attacks. "Family?" Evan whispered. Queen Thalara stared at her daughters, speechless. No alien in history had ever called a human family. But the girls meant it. They hugged Evan tightly, their small tails wrapping around him like warm ropes. Queen Thalara closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was something new in her gaze. Softness that had been hidden for years. "Perhaps," she said carefully, "this accident was a lesson I needed." She lifted the teleport crystal and activated it with her blood link. The cracked structure glowed brighter and brighter until it was whole again. But instead of immediately taking the girls away, she turned to Evan. "You will come with us." Evan blinked. "What?" The queen continued. "A guardian does not abandon his charges." I didn't. I mean," Evan looked down at the girls. "Is this what you want?" Both princesses nodded eagerly. Rinya, human. "Come, Lyri, home together." Evan exhaled slowly. His life had been empty for years, quiet, lonely, predictable. Now two small alien princesses were pulling him toward a future he could never imagine. And somehow, he didn't want to say no. He smiled. "All right, I'll go." A shockwave of gasps rolled through both the aliens and the humans nearby. The queen raised her arm and the flagship lowered its ramp. But before stepping inside, she turned to the human soldiers stationed on the moon. "In honor of Evan Holt's protection," she declared, her voice echoing across the sky, "the Ravkara Empire will enter a peace pact with humanity." The human commander nearly fainted. "Peace pact?" "Yes," the queen said firmly. "Your people have one human to thank." She gestured at Evan. Suddenly, every human soldier snapped to attention. Every alien soldier crossed their chest. In salute. Evan stood in the middle of two armies, blinking in disbelief. Rinya squeezed his hand. Lyri whispered, "Hero." He laughed softly. "I'm really not." The queen stepped into the flagship. "Come, Guardian Holt. Your new role awaits." Evan nodded, picking up the girls gently. They wrapped their arms around his neck and rested their heads on his shoulders. He stepped onto the flagship, and the ramp closed behind them. Inside, the alien walls shimmered with soft flowing lights. The air smelled like warm minerals and sweet wind. Evan felt the ship lift smooth, powerful, alive. The queen watched him as they ascended into space. "You have changed my daughters," she said, "and they have changed you." Evan looked at the two small girls sleeping on him again. "Just like the first night." He smiled. "Yeah," he whispered, "they really have." The queen nodded once, then welcomed to Ravkara human Evan Holt. Outside, the flagship broke through the atmosphere and vanished into the stars, carrying a human, a queen, and two little princesses who bridged two worlds forever. A new alliance was born, and it all began with two missing girls found sleeping peacefully on a human's chest.